Today on America's Court with Judge Ross.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher was on track. Were you aware that the counselor that had been working with him to ensure his NCAA eligibility had no longer been there?
Yes, Your Honor, I was aware of that.
In my courtroom, it's about equity and fairness. You want him to pay $628?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, knock my socks off. Justice should be more than just some foreign concept. I actually want you to learn something. The law talks about something may in fact be true, but can they prove it? And that's what's tough.
Fair, firm, compassionate. This is America's Court with Judge Ross. Alex Powell claims his son lost his athletic scholarship because of false information given to him by his high school counselor. Mr. Powell is suing Tracy Rodney in the amount of $10,000. Ms. Rodney admits she did advise Mr. Powell's son on his class schedule, but says it's the plaintiff's responsibility to know what's required for the scholarship.
All rise. Remain standing and come to order. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Kevin Ross presiding.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated.
All parties been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Thomas. You know, I try to keep things light as we're resolving these disputes, and then we have cases that it's a big deal when I'm really big on education. And I know you as a dad, sir, you're dealing with a situation here where your son lost out on a $10,000 scholarship per year.
That is correct.
Take me through. What's your son's name?
My son's name is his name is Christopher Powell.
Okay.
Christopher Powell.
And so Christopher, from what I read, is pretty good in basketball.
That is correct, Your Honor. And he was such a standout to where he garnered a full 4-year athletic scholarship at a big Division I college.
And
university.
Ms. Rodney, you were the counselor that was assisting with making sure his NCAA eligibility was on point.
That is somewhat correct, Your Honor. Technically, my position as academic counselor was really just to make sure the seniors had enough credits to graduate their senior year. I was in replacing a sports counselor that had recently left the school, and I had multiple responsibilities heaped on myself at the last minute.
Okay. The person that was assigned for the athletes had the job at the beginning of the school year and left for whatever reason, or?
That is correct.
And then all those athletes that would have been going on to play in college, you were assigned to all of them?
Some of them. Each of the counselors took responsibility for a portion. Some. Yes, that's correct.
And you didn't have expertise in that area?
Not necessarily, no. My expertise was in, you know, the credit requirements for the seniors to graduate on time.
Your focus is, this is what you need to do to get through this process from freshman to senior year?
Well, only senior year. I get the seniors as they become seniors, so I don't even know them from freshmen.
How long had you been working there?
I had been there for about a year.
Okay, so you're new to just overall.
Yeah,
and then on top of it, you get the additional athletes.
Exactly.
You had no experience or familiarity with the whole NCAA rules because they're very specific.
They are very specific. I had heard of it and I was familiar with the clearinghouse, but I didn't know the specific core credits that were needed to maintain a scholarship.
Right, and that's the issue because, Mr. Powell, correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher was on track. Were you aware that the counselor that had been working with him to ensure his NCAA eligibility had no longer been there?
Yes, Your Honor, I was aware of that. However, I felt that Mrs. Rodney, you know, would have been able to fulfill that particular requirement, the requirement of...
What exactly was the issue?
Okay, here was the issue, Your Honor. According to the NCAA clearinghouse,
yes,
their eligibility standards state that if you're a student athlete and you've signed on to a Division I academic institution to play
specifically
sports.
Division I, and that's where he was
Division
going.
I, that is correct.
Because there's different rules for different divisions, right?
That is correct, Division I,
so
Division II.
We're talking Division I basketball.
For Division I, he needed a 16-core course requirement, right?
Yes.
So when we found out that our son did not qualify, you know.
And when did you find that out?
Well, we found out a week after he graduated. You know, we went onto the NCAA's website.
Why so late?
The reason why we went so late is because, you know, we were just wanting to check up on his eligibility, just to maintain.
What I'm saying is the last semester of his senior year, I would think that that point, when did the teacher who was the sports counselor, when did that person leave?
They left somewhere in the beginning of Mr. Powell's son's senior year.
Okay. Was there any conversation with Ms. Rodney about, this is his last year, we're applying, we need to make sure everything's on track?
That is correct. That's why
there was a conversation.
Yeah, exactly, between me and my son Christopher. That's why I made sure that he gave
Where is Christopher, by the way?
Well, Christopher, right now, he's attending a school in Georgia.
Okay.
University in Georgia. And not only that, he's 17 years old, so he's not really old enough to represent himself, and he's somewhat shy.
Okay.
So that's why I, as his father, am standing in.
Tell me about the conversation you and Ms. Rodney had about his eligibility.
Okay. Well, me and Ms. Rodney didn't have a one-on-one conversation. The conversation was between me and my son Christopher.
Why wouldn't you have a conversation with Christopher and Ms. Rodney, given that we're talking $10,000 a year in scholarship money?
Well, the reason why I didn't feel it was needed is because my son was equipped with the information.
Show me.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the NCAA Eligibility Center quick reference sheet.
Okay.
That's the same information that was given to Mrs. Rodney by my son Christopher Powell, as well as his letter of intent, etc. But that information. So when I had that conversation with my son, I decided to have him take that particular piece of information to Mrs. Rodney, seeing as how she's now the athletic, counselor for the seniors.
Have you yourself gone to college, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you play under the NCAA?
I was not on the sports team in college.
Because it says here, the core courses, the test scores, what the grade point average needs to be, it does indicate that there needs to be 16 core courses. You have here highlighted 1 year of additional English, math, or natural physical science. Why did you highlight that, sir?
Well, the reason why that is highlighted is because I wanted Christopher to make sure that basically he was falling in line with those particular 16 core course requirements with the NCAA.
Well, how short was he in terms of the requirement?
Ultimately, he was like 0.5%, 0.5.
Coming up on America's Court.
She suggested that, again, how about taking something that's easier, such as the nurse's aid course?
I don't remember using the word easier.
Well, my son's not a liar, and that's the
Neither
word that
am I.
America's Court is back with the case of Alex Powell, who is suing Tracy Rodney for $10,000.
He needed 16 core courses. He ended up having 15.5.
That is correct.
How did that happen?
Okay.
Well, let me go to you, Ms. Rodney. How did that happen?
Well, initially, Mr. Powell wanted to take,
We're talking about the son, Christopher.
Yes, Chris didn't want to take the pre-calculus class that was initially on his schedule. He was adamant.
He did not want to take it.
He did not want to take that. Had he gone ahead and taken that, he would have fulfilled the 16 core credit courses.
Were you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I was aware of that. However,
you had a conversation with him about why he needed to take the pre-calculus to get the 16 core class requirement that the NCAA specified.
Yes, we did have that conversation.
And then why did he not take the pre-calculus?
Well, because he had already fulfilled his math requirement. He had taken 3 years of math, and he no longer had to take another math course. So
could another course have satisfied that 16th unit?
Exactly. That's why he decided to take the forensic science course.
Is that true?
That is true. However, the only reason he wanted to take that is because he knew the professor of that class. He wasn't even. Yes, exactly.
He probably had senioritis.
Exactly.
I just experienced it. And he was probably trying to take the easy way out.
Exactly, because that was his personality anyway.
But the forensic science, was it only a half a course?
It was a 2-semester course.
Did he take both semesters?
No, he did not. And
why didn't he take both semesters of the forensic science?
Unfortunately, he was misadvised in that matter.
By who?
By me, Your Honor.
Stop.
Yes.
We need 16 core courses. He doesn't want to take the pre-calculus. If he takes 1 year of the forensic science, he satisfies the 16th course, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
You told him that, but then you said you erred in what regard?
My goal was to make sure he met the requirements for the high school, not the NCAA.
We've established that.
Yes.
What did you do that caused him to be half a credit short in terms of your advising him?
I guided him in the way that he should take an elective instead of the forensic science.
Why would you do that?
He was adamant on focusing on his basketball career. Everything was basketball, basketball. He didn't want to slip up or get a lower grade or fail or anything like that, so I advised that he should probably take an elective to fill his schedule.
What did you advise him to take?
Nurse's aide.
Did he take, so he took one semester of the forensic science, but not the other?
Correct.
And that was based on your advising him to do that to make sure that he didn't get any Fs or be ineligible to even play that last year?
Correct. And again, my goal is to make sure that he graduated on time as a senior, that he didn't stay back, that anything didn't happen, and he had already met the requirements.
What were his grades like?
He had about a 3.0 B average.
I also have a high school senior who just graduated. And that last semester was a struggle because they're tired, they're antsy, they just want to get through it. And I could see it from your standpoint, and well, let's not get you in a course that you end up failing, because then you can't graduate and you can't go to college. We got to at least make sure you pass everything. I get it. And you've probably seen some situations where students have dropped the ball, pardon the pun.
Plenty.
At the last minute.
Exactly.
You recognize that you erred when you told him to take that nurse's aide course.
Yeah, that was an error on my part, and I think that
Here's the issue.
Okay.
That error cost this family $10,000.
But, Your Honor, don't you think that if it was your son that you would be checking the website throughout their entire senior year to make sure?
Unfortunately, you don't get to ask the questions up in here.
Okay. All right.
And coming up on America's Court with Judge Ross.
She suggested that, again, that how about taking something that's easier, such as the nurse's aide course?
I don't remember using the word easier.
Well, my son's not a liar, and that's the
Neither
word.
am I.
This is America's Court with Judge Ross. America's Court is back with the case of Alex Powell, who is suing Tracy Rodney for $10,000.
Dad?
Yeah.
Is this your only son?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The school was clearly in contact with both you and Christopher in terms of him playing. They really wanted him, so there had to have been communications ongoing.
That is correct.
The school had to have said, now, are we good with the SAT or the ACT scores? Are we good with the transcripts?
That is
What
correct.
is he taking? And when this whole issue came up about the nurse's aide position, with half semester being forensic science, was that a conversation that you had with the school, your wife, and Christopher, and the high school, so everyone was on the same page?
Yeah.